If you love cryptic clues and decoding puzzles, you'll be fascinated by the world's longest-running treasure hunt. And it's totally related, I promise. What happens when a daggy dad who knows next to nothing about what music the kids are listening to today chats with a hip young Taylor Swift fan about the search for the ultimate lover?
This is Signs of the Times Radio with Kent Kingston.
Hey, welcome to the show for this week. And I have with me here in the studio, fresh from the crispy Blue Mountains, Kira-Leigh Josey. How are you, Kira?
I'm well. How are you?
Oh, am I allowed to call you Kira or does it have to be Kira-Leigh?
It's okay. It's okay. It can be Kira.
It can be Kira.
Yeah.
I'm sensing a bit of resistance here. I'll try to stick with Kira-Leigh.
Thanks.
Okay. That's fine. Now, Kira-Leigh, you wrote an article for us in Signs of the Times for this month, for October, which is great. Mm-hmm. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. Before we go any further, apart from writing awesome articles for Signs magazine, what else do you do with your life?
Yeah.
Just to get to know you.
Yeah, so I'm a part-time high school teacher. I teach in religious studies,
Mm-hmm.
and as well as that, I'm also finishing off my last year of my education degree.
Okay. So you just couldn't wait to get to the end of your degree, just straight into the teaching, huh?
Well, I'm actually leaving teaching next year, so
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, a little bit of a joke I'm playing on everyone and myself. I'm actually going to be pursuing studying theology instead.
Oh, wow. Okay, so this Bible teaching thing has got you really interested in the Bible and learning more about God, and you're thinking, actually, I want to pursue that.
Yeah, that's it.
Wow. Okay. Well, I reckon the sort of principles you're learning in your teaching degree will definitely come in handy, in theology, because often what you're doing is explaining sometimes difficult or sometimes complicated sort of issues to people, which is teaching, basically.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, my favourite sort of sermon or Bible study is a very, teaching-oriented one. So, yeah, it'd be a good crossover. Will you get some sort of credit for subjects you've already done?
No, I won't get any.
Oh, really?
It's actually tragic. So
you got to do 4 full years all over again?
That's it. Oh, well, no, because I'm currently at undergraduate level, so I'll graduate at the end of this year.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'm doing
the
graduate diploma?
The post.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. The graduate diploma in theology and ministry. 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years. Yeah. With no credits.
2 years. Well, you've sort of got 2 years of credits in some ways for...
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, wow, that's fascinating. Okay. Well, what else is fascinating about you, I think anyway, is that you chose to pretty much kick off your article and talk in great detail about one of the world's best-selling pop musicians right now, and that is the one and only Miss Taylor Swift.
Yep.
So are you a fan, Kira-Leigh?
Am I a fan? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to describe it. But
okay.
How passionate I am about that depends on who I'm with.
Oh, okay. So I was introduced to a new word reading your article, and that is Swiftie. So,
yep.
So apparently, like when my dad said Swiftie, like if you pulled a bit of a Swiftie, that means you'd be a bit tricky.
Yep.
But a Swiftie is also a fan of Taylor Swift. Do you consider yourself a Swiftie?
Ooh, I would say in a way.
Okay.
In a way, but definitely I've fallen off the wagon as I've got a bit older.
So maybe you're on the fringes of Swiftydom.
I think so. You know what's actually funny though? It's its own language among me and my friends. Mm-hmm. I have 2 friends who communicate exclusively in what they call Swifts. So they're just Taylor Swift GIFs that they send to each other through Messenger.
Oh, far
and that's the only way they talk. So, it's definitely a big part of my life.
There you go. So, I mean, I have to admit, well, tell me one Taylor Swift song that I would probably know.
Oh,
like the really, 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 really popular one that, come on, everyone knows that one. Just to check to see if I can connect with you at all on this, because, I'm the opposite of a Swiftie, whatever that is.
Oh. Yeah, let me just think. It depends on what era you're going for.
Well, any era. Her most popular
famous
song ever.
Okay, probably that "Look What You Made Me Do" song.
I've heard the title.
Yeah.
Can you hum a line or two for me?
Unfortunately, I don't sing in order to save those around me. But
All right.
but I wish I could. But that's in that music video. She says, the old Taylor Swift's dead.
Oh, right.
So that's her being very edgy and very
Right.
Yeah, we don't talk about the Reputation era in her albums. But
Oh, okay. So,
Yeah.
look, I did do a quick crash course in Wikipedia.
Right.
And I have heard Taylor Swift songs. I mean, I have to admit, they're so unmemorable to me that I cannot remember any of them. But
Yep.
I remember that when I heard, oh, Taylor Swift, she's this huge pop princess. And when I had a listen, I thought, oh, she's country.
yeah, she used to be.
Oh, has she
And
gone
now
more,
she's pop.
more pop, less country?
Yeah.
So this is part of the transition.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Right.
right. And some people hate it, some people love it. It's just, yeah.
Right. Okay. So is she sort of country pop, or she's definitely pop
She's
now?
definitely pop now.
Okay. All right. Well,
Yeah.
there you go. Well, look. Some of you listening to this will be, oh my goodness, you guys are so ignorant, Kent. You have no idea. And others of you will be like, thank you very much for explaining what the deal is with Taylor Swift. So yes.
Yeah.
So sorry to the Swifties out there for my ignorance. So, but one thing that was fascinating about Taylor Swift that you mentioned in your article is her love language. Now
Yeah.
what she calls her love language.
Yeah.
We have this idea that people like develop their friendships and connect with other people in different ways. Some people like to receive presents, some people like words of affirmation, physical touch, all that sort of stuff. Tell us about Taylor Swift's love language.
Yeah, Taylor Swift loves leaving cryptic clues everywhere.
Right.
Yep.
Examples?
Like on her Instagram, for example, before she deleted her Reputation album, which was about 4 years ago, she deleted every photo. Deleted her profile photo. Everything was gone. Nothing in her bio.
Wow.
And so people were like, what on earth is going on? And it was like that for, I don't know, a few days. And then she started posting little videos. And it was just like this little slithering sort of moving silver thing. And people like, what is it? What is it? And then eventually it was revealed to be a snake over time just through these videos. But she was just so cryptic. Like, it even goes down to like recently before her current album.
Yeah, Lover. It came out in August.
Yeah. She was posting like pictures of 13 palm trees and her playing Scrabble with her mum. And there were like little clues in here where like fans are like enhancing and trying to figure it out. It's, so intense.
And it has all been revealed? Do we know the meaning of these clues now?
Yeah. They've all been revealed with the release of her albums. So, I mean, she just left clues though in everything. Like when you think you've solved it all, she releases another music video and then there's all of these clues for something else. And I actually saw a post, I think, this morning that was going through how she had left a clue in a music video from 2 years ago, pointing to one of her songs on her current album.
Oh.
And it's just like, how does she plan? How does she plan that? It's insane.
All connected.
Exactly.
Wow. And is this the sort of thing that you're like into like generally in real life? Like do you like clues and puzzles and treasure hunts and that sort of thing?
See, I like to think I do, but I get frustrated really quick. So
Or do you just like watching Nicolas Cage movies where he's, going through dungeons and tunnels and finding the answers to problems? I think I'm thinking, was it Treasure Hunter?
National Treasure?
National
Is
Treasure.
That it? Yeah, I've never seen it.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, generally I get really bored really quick.
Oh, okay.
But this is the type of thing where like whenever anything comes out from her, me and my friend will like message each other, but we're not doing the clue finding ourselves. We go and find like articles from other people who found the clues.
Right.
Yeah, so we're sort of lazy.
Oh, okay.
But we put it together.
But obviously you find the whole thing fascinating. The fact she's doing this.
She leaves it there. It's so well planned.
Okay, so, all right, high school religion teacher, Taylor Swift fan, starts putting it together and says, you know what, in the Bible, there's a bunch of cryptic, or not so cryptic clues, as you point out. Talk us through that and like how you sort of made this connection in your head.
Right. So I was teaching year 9 about what we call messianic prophecies. So just prophecies in the Old Testament that point to Jesus in the New Testament.
Yeah. So messianic being the Messiah. So Jesus, the Messiah who is coming. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so I was teaching them about all that. And I was like, wow, these are so cool because there are so many of them. And I teaching them was just finding out about more and more. And I was like, these are crazy specific. And I guess we'll get into some later on.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was so cool. And then I also work with one of my friends and we work on, producing articles and different content. A joke we've had going is that I won't be able to ever, integrate anything that, I really love, like pop culture wise, into my articles or anything that I write, just because they're so funny. Like, if you know the Broadway musical Hamilton.
No.
Okay, so that's a very famous musical and something that I'm working on integrating. And Taylor Swift, basically I always said I'm going to get Hamilton and I'm going to get Taylor Swift into an article somewhere. And, they'd always laugh at me.
Yep.
And then suddenly, well, a while ago, I was just in bed going to sleep. And then this idea just popped into my head.
Yep.
I was like, Taylor Swift will use clues. Wow, all of the Old Testament are like little clues pointing to Jesus. This is pretty cool. And then it came together and I was like, this is amazing. So.
Okay, all right. So I guess the obvious question is, how have your religion classes in high school sort of taken to your, have you made this comparison to them in class? Hey, you guys like Taylor Swift, like the clues, how about these clues in the Bible? Have you made that connection?
No,
with
I
them?
haven't.
Oh, you haven't?
And now I'm thinking maybe I should. But
this is the obvious audience.
you're right.
You totally should.
Although, see, it's sort of cool not to like Taylor Swift among kids that age.
Right.
Yeah, for a lot of them. So
right. It's one of these love-hate things like Justin Bieber like 10 years ago sort of thing.
Yeah. And they think Mr. AC is already lame enough. So we'll see. Maybe I'll slip it in the last term.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so let's have a look at the Bible, and love you to give us some examples, or so we can discuss these together, of some of these clues that you say are in the Bible, because obviously the thing about cryptic clues is that they're actually quite hard to interpret and they can mean a whole bunch of different things. And I guess the accusation could be made that, well, when Christians read the Bible and they read something and they go, oh, that's about Jesus, and someone else will go, no, it doesn't say the word Jesus there. How is that about Jesus? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'd love you to take us through a few examples of these, that maybe some less cryptic, maybe some more cryptic, so that we can sort of start to piece together what you're talking about. Yeah.
So this is one that I included in the article, but it says in Micah 5 verse 2, but you, Bethlehem.
Ephrathah, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Though you are small among the clans of Judah, out of you will come from me one who will be the ruler over Israel, whose origins are from of old, from ancient times.
Right.
So
okay.
The cool thing about that is Bethlehem, that could be any old town, because there were quite a few Bethlehems in Judea at the time.
Because I think Bethlehem literally, like Beth means house and lehem means bread. So basically bakery.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so there could have been a bunch of places called bakery. So that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a whole bunch of places called bakery, but it actually tells you which Bethlehem it will be in.
Bethlehem Ephrathah.
Yeah.
And it says it's in Judah.
Yeah.
In the province of Judah. Oh, what does it say?
Does it? Yes, it does.
Yeah, although you were
from
least
Judah.
in Judah. So we know it's in that region, sort of around Jerusalem-ish.
Yeah,
okay.
So actually very specific when you look into it a bit more. And so cool that out of all those towns, they've picked one, more specifically. I found that so cool.
All right. And I guess if any of us have been to Carols by Candlelight, Christmas is coming. Have you noticed? Have you noticed the decorations are already in the shops?
Yeah. It's distressing.
What is going on with that? Okay. Anyway, so... But yes, we've all been to Christmas carols and we've heard people sing songs about Bethlehem and stuff, little town of Bethlehem. So we know that Jesus was born in Bethlehem. So you're saying this is a prophecy from 700 years before Jesus' birth that says this is where Jesus is going to be born in Bethlehem. All right. So what is it about this verse that tells us it's a rule? It says in Bethlehem will come one who will be ruler over Israel. So, that could have been anyone. What makes you think this is Jesus rather than, like David, for example, he was born in Bethlehem,
right?
King David. What else about this verse would hint that this is not just David or anyone else born in Bethlehem?
Good question. Let me think on that.
Well, sorry, I was throwing that to you because I thought it was really obvious, because the next bit says, whose origins are from ancient times.
Oh, correct. Yes.
Yeah. So that doesn't that suggest that this is a person who is eternal, who's been around forever?
Yeah, right.
Look, that's how I read it. It's not just a baby who's born; it's someone whose origins are from way back in eternity and infinity. So that to me says this is not just a human. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Sorry. I fed you the answer there. I'm not going to be so kind next time. All right. So give us another example, Kira-Leigh.
All right. So what's cool that I've noticed is that in a number of places in the Bible, it just sort of pops up like these little hints towards the Messiah. And when you're looking for them, when you're looking for little hints towards Jesus, I guess they just show up, which some people would say confirmation bias for sure. But if we look into it, there's actually in Isaiah 53.
Oh yeah, this is
this is like the best one for it. Like whenever I read it, I'm just constantly like wowed by it. And I taught my kids about it this year, and you know, reading through it with them, and I'm like, how are you not amazed? Like they sort of just didn't care, and I was like, no, this is the best. This is so cool.
Well, tell us what does Isaiah 53 actually say?
Yeah, well, if we read it, so this is reading from verse 7 to 9, so I just chose a little bit of it. But he was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. He was led like a lamb to the slaughter, and a sheep before its shearers is silent. So he did not open his mouth. By oppression and judgment he was taken away, yet who of his generation protested? For he was cut off from the land of the living, for the transgression of my people he was punished. He was assigned a grave with the wicked and with the rich in death, though he has done no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth.
Okay. So how does what is said here line up with what happened in the life and it sounds like the death of Jesus?
Yeah. So it points directly to what we see in his death. So you know, Jesus is arrested. Doesn't really say that much at all in his defense. Just goes.
He's asked questions and he's silent. Yeah.
So he just goes to his death. You know, people aren't really protesting. In fact, his friends are disowning him, if anything. And, you know, a grave with the wicked.
Well, and the rich.
Yeah, and we know that his grave was actually a rich man's grave. So Joseph of Arimathea, we're told that's where Jesus was buried
he
in
donated
his tomb.
Yeah.
Yeah, so pretty cool.
Yeah,
I think
that is pretty cool. And like right in the just before that stuff about the grave with the rich, it says, "For the transgression of my people he was punished." I mean, that's wow. What do you understand that to mean?
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking transgression.
So I guess we still use like artists. Oh, this artist is so transgressive. Sorry, that's my artist voice. But it means sin, doesn't it? Basically?
Yeah, sins. Yeah. So like that just doesn't make any sense, right? To write unless it was directly pointing to Jesus, because it's saying, you know, when I die, I'm not dying for anyone's sins. When you know, when other people in the Bible died, they weren't dying for anyone's sins. It was just Jesus, only Jesus. Yeah. And to write that in Isaiah, which was, you know, quite a while before Jesus was born.
Yeah, like a couple of hundred years at least, I think,
So a long time before Jesus was born. And he's writing that, you know, someone's dying for the transgressions of the people. He's dying and he's silent.
And it even describes him like as a lamb to the slaughter. And I guess for a Jewish reader, they'd be thinking of the sacrificial lamb because they actually did, like if they'd done something wrong, if they'd done a sin, they would bring a lamb to the temple. That lamb would be sacrificed and slaughtered for their sins.
Right.
So this idea of transfer of sins, you know, onto a lamb would have been familiar to a Jewish readership. But then to put a human in that position, I imagine would have been quite radical.
Yeah, I think so. And, you know, this is why when Jesus actually did come, so many people didn't recognize him. Because, you know, they were thinking in the historical context at the time, you know, the Jewish people in Judea were being oppressed by the Romans. And so they were looking for a Messiah who would save them. And they thought that saving them,
like militarily,
yeah. So they thought that meant, you know, coming in, all guns blazing,
start a revolution.
Yeah, exactly. But we actually see in the Old Testament that the Messiah that they wanted and they thought they were going to get is not the one who was actually predicted.
A suffering servant, a suffering Messiah, and that would have been very inconvenient, I imagine. And
exactly. Not great.
I've actually heard that Isaiah 53 was sort of a forbidden chapter for a long time, and
I mean, decently still is within
Judaism. Yeah. Okay. There's a great YouTube video actually where some people go out to the streets in Jerusalem and they have Isaiah 50. You've seen it?
I've seen it.
They have Isaiah 53 in Hebrew, and they have people reading it in Hebrew. You know, and ask him, hey, you know, what does this say? And they're just given the obvious meaning.
Yeah.
And I guess the temptation is to think, well, look, this could have easily been tweaked. after Jesus, life and everything. And when Christianity came along, they just sort of went back to Isaiah and inserted a few bits that made it to sound like Jesus. But we know that, like, right there in Jerusalem, I've never been to Jerusalem. I don't know if you have.
No.
But I've seen lots of photos of it and heard about it. There's a building there where they have some of the Dead Sea Scrolls on display.
Yep.
And one of the biggest scrolls, or most complete scrolls, I should say, that they found was a scroll of Isaiah. It's a complete scroll of Isaiah, and it's on display there, sort of wrapped around the middle, sort of this giant pillar in the middle. I don't know if pillar is the right word, but it's a massive, big circular sort of display, and it's in obviously ancient Hebrew, but it's there, and the words are there to this day right now. And those Dead Sea Scrolls, they've been dated to, I think, a couple of hundred years before Jesus' birth.
Yeah.
Like, it's some of the oldest biblical manuscripts ever found, and they're right there, and Isaiah 53 is there.
Yeah.
Which is
intact, totally.
That just blows me away. Yeah. Sorry, that sort of gets into archaeology and stuff.
No, but it's so cool. I'm also a history teacher.
Yeah.
So
there you go. So you get into that stuff.
Definitely.
All right. Okay. Anything else? Any other clues or that you'd like to talk to us about?
Yeah. So I guess in the article I sort of went through, like, so there's, documented time of when Jesus was going to be a refugee in Egypt. And often we forget that Jesus was actually a refugee and that he ran away.
Yeah.
So he and his family ran away for, I think it was 2 years to Egypt. And that's prophesied in the book of Hosea.
Wow.
In 11 verse 1.
Yeah, what does it say?
When Israel was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son. So I would say this has a double fulfillment in a way. And a lot of prophecies do, right? Or statements do. Because we could say, well, yeah, if you look at the story of the Exodus, God called his people out of Egypt. They're done.
The children of Israel, out of Egypt I called my son.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you're calling someone out of Egypt, you're calling them out of slavery, it references that story.
Yeah, yeah.
But you see a double meaning there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Jesus, we know, is God's son. So it makes sense. He went to Egypt, eventually, came back from that.
Running away from evil King Herod, which is part of the Christmas story we often skip over. But
yeah, because it's less pleasant. But of course, there's more specific ones, right? Like there's this one you could say, I guess, like it could go either way. I mean, there's lots of people in Egypt. There's lots of children of God. Like, what do you mean? So let's look at another one.
Yep.
So it actually tells us that Jesus is going to teach in parables, which is pretty cool. That's something that Jesus is well known for. Also something that was done a lot in the day, but still pretty cool. So if we go to Psalms, and then we go to 78.
Psalm 78, all right.
And then if we go to verse 2, it says, I will open my mouth with a parable. I will utter hidden things from of old.
Things of old. There's this idea of ancient and from ancient times there again.
Yeah.
Some ancient mysteries there.
Yeah, and what's really cool is that, in Psalms, you see so many pointers towards Jesus. Like, I made it my mission to read through the Psalms, and I was pretty terrible at it. I think I got through to maybe 22. But even then, I could see, like, I think Psalms 22 is a bit of a classic, and Psalm 23 as well. Like, those ones point directly to Jesus.
Yeah, I think Psalm 22 starts with, my God, why have you forsaken me? Which is what Jesus actually, he said those words on the cross.
Yeah.
And of course his hearers would have known that he was referencing that psalm, and we know perhaps less well now.
And what's really cool, I think, is that, we look at these clues in the Old Testament, these little clues, but even then, the whole of the Old Testament is pointing towards Jesus. Let's not even, talk about verse for verse. If we go into the Old Testament and we look at the big idea, we can see that every book in there, every chapter, every event somehow points to Jesus.
Wow.
It points to Jesus coming, which is, to me, just remarkable. Like, if you look at, Moses leading the people out of Egypt, let's go back to the Exodus, and we'll look at that. And you think, that's a pretty neat story. And you think, that's the way that, Jesus came to lead us out of sin, out of, those transgressions.
The slavery of sin, yeah. You can see it over and over again. I mean, Joseph as well. Like, they don't even recognize who he is. His brothers don't recognize him, but he rescues them. And I totally see what you're saying. Now, look, just as we finish, because that time is ticking away. I know time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it, Kira-Leigh?
Yep, bingo.
Yeah. look, obviously we would definitely encourage people to check out your article. It's online now. And so just go to signsofthetimes.org.au and look in the culture section, and you're looking for an article called Taylor Swift and the Messianic Countdown. And you've given a bunch more Bible references there, Kira-Leigh. Thanks for that. So people can check that out. If they want to go even more in depth though, than because your article is sort of an introduction to the topic.
Yeah.
If people want to go even more in depth, so like really dive into like finding all these clues and stuff and stringing them all together. Do you have any like online resources or suggestions? I mean, some people say, "Oh, just read the Bible." Well, you could.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard slog.
It's
long slog at least.
That'll take you a while.
Yeah,
Do that. We strongly encourage that. But is there any like website or whatever that can help you explore it better?
Yeah, what's really cool is, I don't think I said this before as well, but there's about 200 to 400 of these.
Of these
little prophecies.
Wow, through the Bible.
Yeah, all through the Bible. And what's really cool is that there's a number of websites like Jews for Jesus is quite good for this.
Yeah, we've interviewed Bob Mendelsohn actually, who's
awesome.
Who heads that up in Australia down at Bondi Junction.
Yeah.
G'day Bob, if you're listening.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they're really cool as well. They have a website on there. They have the Old Testament prophecy, so they have the reference for that, and then they have the New Testament fulfillment as well.
Right, so they match it up.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's not just them saying like, oh, in the Old Testament says this and Jesus did this without any references. No, you can go and fact check it yourself and, make up your own mind for what you think.
Okay, there you go. And these are like Jewish people, and a number of them speak Hebrew and stuff, so yeah, they're unlikely to be coming up with wild theories there.
Yeah.
They know their stuff. Wow. Hey, thanks so much, Kira-Leigh. I really appreciate you writing the article for us, and thanks so much for coming in today to Signs of the Times Radio.
Thank you for having me.
Today's episode was based on an article appearing in this month's Signs of the Times magazine. A subscription is just $26 for 11 issues a year. To find out more, visit signsofthetimes.org.au. Signs of the Times has been published in Australia since 1886 and is proudly produced by Adventist Media.
This is an Adventist Media podcast.